Everyone thought Rich Homie Quan and Young Thug stopped rocking with each other over some petty beef back in the day. But thanks to Thug's Rico case, fans are learning that the truth is way more shocking. From his dad getting shot at by Thug's homies, to allegedly snitching on Thug and possibly testifying at his trial, this is the wild story about what's happening with Rich Homie Quan and Young Thug. Rich Homie Quan and Young Thug both came up in Atlanta and went to the same middle school together. Even though they both ended up in the streets, their paths into the trenches were way different. Young Thug was a problem from the jump and got kicked out of school in the 6th grade for breaking one of his teacher's arms. He got active in the streets at a young age, and by 2010 he was dropping tracks about his wild come up in Atlanta. Rich Homie Quan took school a lot more seriously. He was into creative writing and playing sports, and back then his dream was to go pro with baseball. Rapping was just a hobby for him. Quan also had a legit job at an airport, but he got fired over something and ended up turning to the streets. Quan spent over a year in prison on a burglary charge, and when he got out, he only had 2 options: go back to the streets or start taking rap seriously. By that time, Thug was already making a name for himself in the city after dropping 3 mixtapes in 2011 and 2012. Quan got some buzz too with tracks like Differences, but nobody expected what was about to happen. Thug and Quan had been linking up in the studio and planned to drop a tape together in early 2014. But instead of dropping it themselves, Birdman put them on his Rich Gang label and they released the hit track, Lifestyle. Lifestyle went platinum and racked up hundreds of millions of streams. Quan and Thug already had momentum in the game, but that track took him to another level. Birdman originally started Rich Gang to promote his Cash Money roster, but he realized how great Quan and Thug were together and made them the faces of his crew. They dropped the mixtape, Rich Gang, The Tour Part 1, and that's when everyone understood how crazy the link-up was. The whole tape was carried by Young Thug and Quan, with only a couple of features from dudes like Pee Wee Longway and Young Ralph. Critics loved the tape, and it laid out the blueprint for what Atlanta trap would sound like for the next decade. Fans were all over the tape and wanted more music out of Thug and Quan, but that version of Rich Gang fell apart as soon as it came together. And before we get into the brutal story about why they might have actually split up, let's dive into what Quan and Thug have been saying over the years. In early 2015, Quan shocked everyone when he announced that he was taking a step back from Rich Gang to focus on his own music. After how much everyone loved the first tape, people just assumed that Thug and Quan would keep it pushing with Rich Gang. Quan made it sound like he was just gonna work on a solo career for a while but would be coming back to the group. He always made it clear that he had love for Thug and there wasn't any issues. But after the interview dropped, it sparked a beef that's still going on today. Thug was on tour with Travis Scott, and during the show he told the crowd, "This stupid lame, that nigga tripping, that bitch homie Quan." Quan went on Highly Questionable on ESPN and said that the situation hurt his feelings.
Look, my first reaction was, my brother called me homie Quan, and I took my glasses off. Like, to be honest, not to get in my feelings, it hurt.
He seemed pretty confused about the whole thing, especially since Thug could have just called him. But that was only the beginning. Quan allegedly took shots at Thug on the track You Not and rapped, "Tool on me, fuck you homie, ABC Channel 2 homie. I done fucked around and made the news on you. Had to change shoes, waste food on them. This flashy shit ain't nothing new, homie. I've been me, you ain't you, homie. And you ain't no thug. Plus you ain't that nigga I thought you was." Quan hopped on Twitter saying, "I would never diss my brother," and said that the track was recorded over a year earlier, but not everyone was buying the story. Then later that year, a fan tried to grope Rich Homie Quan, and he told the crowd he's not rocking with that gay shit like Thug. In 2019, Thug said that the situation is the reason he could never be 100% cool with Quan ever again. Quan told it differently though. According to him, all of the issues started because their egos got in the way. He said that it was never any personal beef with Thug, but people around him were making everything more complicated. They was both blowing up at a crazy pace, and Quan always said that it was just some misunderstandings that got in the way. Ever since the beef started, Thug seemed like he was taking it way more personal than Quan, and in 2016 he told the crowd,
"Hey, fuck Rich Homie. Fuck Rich Homie."
Gucci Mane even offered them a meal to link up in his new studio for one more mixtape, but Thug told him, "You know I'm the nigga got you together when you came home, kid. I'm straight for life." Quan always showed love to Thug over the years. Back in 2021, he said that they would still run into each other in Atlanta and give each other a head nod or something. Quan even said that he was excited for Thug's new project and said that he's open to working with him again in the future. After they stopped rocking with each other, Thug's career kept blowing up while Quan faded into the background. He went on a crazy run of projects and features from 2012 to 2015. But 2016, he dropped off the face of the earth and didn't release anything at all. Quan came back to the industry for a couple years in 2017. He finally dropped his debut album and a couple tapes, but then in 2019, he stepped away from the industry again. Fans didn't know why he wasn't going hard like back in the day, but now it looks like it could be related to what's going on with Young Thug. The beef between Thug and Quan seemed like it came out of nowhere. But just a couple months before Quan took a step back from Rich Gang, a brutal murder split Atlanta into two sides. YFN Lucci's another rapper from Atlanta who's from the same area as Thug. Lucci's brother YFN K pushed him to hop in the booth, but his homie Big Nut is the one who really kept him going. Nut was well known all over the city and had ties to Thug too, and he helped Lucci get set up with his manager Fly. Fly managed Rich Homie Quan too, and back then, YSL and YFN didn't have any issues. Lucci, Thug, and Quan could have ran the whole city together, but in January 2015, Thug's crew allegedly murdered Big Nut. Nut was shot and killed in a drive-by shooting outside of a barbershop, and for years the police didn't have any leads. Rumors were going around that Thug and his team were behind the hit, but it wasn't until last year that they were officially charged for his death. Big Nut's murder was a tragedy for Atlanta, but what came next was even worse. According to the police, his death sparked a huge crime wave. YFN and YSL went to war over the shooting, and the cops say at least 4 more murders went down because of it. Quan was linked to Big Nut through his manager Fly, and the timing of how everything happened makes it seem like his issues with Thug might be deeper than some comments he made on stage or their egos getting in the way. He made the announcement about getting away from Rich Gang just a couple of months after Big Nut was killed, and now some people think Quan is actually snitching on his old homie over the situation. A video recently leaked where Quan is allegedly talking to somebody about the Young Thug situation. It's hard to tell exactly what's going on in the recording, but at one point it sounds like he says, "Thug has something to do with it. We just can't prove it."
Scrap, man. Thug has something to do with it. We just can't prove it.
When someone in the room asked him if it was over the beef with Thug, Quan said they never had beef, but said that shit was deeper than rap.
Why did you suspect Young Thug when you went down to Miami? Because people told you, or did you have some beef with Young Thug at the time that kind of let you?
I ain't had no beef, bro. That shit was deeper than rap, man.
Thug taking out one of Quan's homies would definitely be enough to spark a beef, but it allegedly got even worse than that. Back in 2014, Rich Homie Quan's dad barely survived getting shot 4 times at a barbershop. Someone walked in and tried to rob the place, and the situation escalated until shots started going off. Quan has always been real close with his dad, and on the track Daddy, he said, "When I see him in that ICU room, boy, you know I went crazy, cause I couldn't see my daddy like that. That's my baby. In other words, he's my best friend. Talk to him daily. Them niggas who did it to him, I hope they praying to God, but he can't help you in this situation." His dad was shot just a few months before Big Nut, and according to some leaked paperwork, Quan thought Thug was involved with both of them. The paperwork says that during an interview, Quan revealed that his dad and Birdman had some kind of argument, and that his dad wanted Quan to fall back from them after it went down. It's not clear what really happened between all of them, but the paperwork says Quan thought they wanted to take his dad out, so he would sign with whoever Birdman and his people wanted him to. After the video of Quan speaking came out, a lot of people jumped in and accused him of snitching on Thug, and Wack 100 called him a rat and said that Quan was just jealous of Thug because of how Thug's career kept going up, but Quan fell off. Rich Homie Quan's manager, Rich Homie Monte, posted a video later and said Quan ain't snitching at all though. He said that everyone talks a little too much sometimes or to the wrong people, and that the whole culture of calling people rats is wrong. He claims that the video is actually from 2016 or 2017, and if Quan was really snitching on Thug, then the trial would have been over a long time ago. What's interesting about the situation is that fans noticed he only started going hard in the booth after Thug got hit with his case last year. He allegedly even took a shot at him on the track Bigger Problems and rapped, "Say he ain't feel no pain with the kid, he ain't never stood out in the rain with the kid. This money in his car, yeah they came with the kid. And these niggas catching Ricos, you can't bang with the kid." No one knows if Quan is telling or not, but he's not the only old homie of Young Thug who's being accused of snitching. One of the biggest events in the YSL trial is when news broke that Gunna took a plea deal and was let go. He took an Alfred plea, which means he didn't admit guilt, but knew that the courts had enough evidence to convict him anyway. Gunna made an announcement and said he wasn't making statements or working with the cops, but then a video leaked where Gunna told a prosecutor that YSL is a gang. A lot of people in the rap game turned on him, and he addressed it all on the track I Was Just Thinking and rapped, "Only I done cried cause it's feeling for my bro, and you know my mind, you done watch that nigga grow. Know you hearing the lies that your little brother might fold? Yeah, I had popped out, but don't let him say I told." He's still been showing love to Thug and the crew ever since he took the deal, but Thug allegedly took a shot at him on his new album. Thug dropped the project From Behind Bars back in June, and on the track Jonesboro, he rapped, "Street nigga with a bunch of lies like a tigger. Y'all niggas just a bunch of dykes, fucking niggas. Nigga told and he was my homie, I can't miss him. Ain't nobody feel him." It's not clear if Thug was really talking about Gunna though. The track was probably recorded before he ever got hit with the RICO charge, unless he recorded his verse over the phone. But now, even Thug is facing snitching rumors. Back in June, news broke that Thug's lawyer Brian Still is trying to get a detective removed from the case. According to court documents, Still thinks that a cop named Detective Quinn will claim that Thug snitched in an old murder case. Quinn is listed as a witness for the prosecution, and apparently he's saying that Thug told on someone back in the day when he was in the back of a police car. Nobody knows what case they're talking about yet, but still claims that it's unrelated to the RICO and should be thrown out. Thug has been locked up for over a year, and he was just denied bond for the 5th time. His lawyer claims that Thug is being held in horrible conditions that are causing him all kinds of issues, including a kidney problem that he had to be hospitalized for. The judge wasn't buying it though, especially after a prosecutor brought up a witness that claims Thug sent a message out that said, "Snitch hoes get murked, them and their kids." Rich Homie Quan is listed as a potential witness for the prosecution too, and if he has anything that can link Thug to his dad's shooting or Big Nut's murder, it'll be a huge blow to Thug's defense. It's still gonna be a while before the trial starts, but in July, the case took another shocking twist. In July, Thug's lawyer filed a motion to dismiss evidence that his homie Shannon SB Stillwell was arrested while he was in the middle of some kind of ritual. Apparently, when the cops was going around arresting everyone in YSL, they found SB in the middle of a religious ceremony which involved the supposed sacrifice of goats. Brian still wants the evidence thrown out because SB's religious beliefs don't have anything to do with Thug's case. But then a reporter hopped in and explained how crazy the situation is. A dude named Michael Seaton said that while he was working as a reporter in Miami, he learned all about the kind of rituals that SB was involved with. According to him, during one of their ceremonies, they wear all white and sacrifice goats to summon a voodoo god that runs the universe. The YSL case has been crazy from the jump, but this is definitely one of the wildest updates. Thug still seems like he's handling it all pretty well though. A couple days ago, a text conversation between Thug and his nephew leaked. His nephew said he misses him and is still trying to record music, and Thug told him, "I'm on the way, Jack, that's on God." Thug's trial technically started months ago, but nothing's been able to move forward because they still haven't been able to pick even one juror yet. They've brought in over 2,000 people for juror interviews, but so far none of them have worked out. And if they ever actually get 12 people for the job, it's gonna be another 6 to 9 months after that before the trial ends. We won't know if Rich Homie Quan will be involved or not until they pick some jurors and get everything started. If his beef with Thug is really just about their egos getting in the way or some comments he made on stage, then the prosecution probably won't call him up. It definitely seems like there's more to the story though. If Thug was really involved with Quan's dad getting shot, then it changes everything and his testimony could help put Thug away for life. Right now, it's still too early to make a call on the situation, but tap in for updates because you never know when something shocking will break in the case.